Restaurants opened up to dine-in patrons in at least 3 states Monday, and the governor of Texas allowed movie theaters, malls and eateries to start letting customers trickle into their establishments later this week. Across the country, an ever-changing patchwork of loosening stay-home orders and business restrictions took shape Monday. Texas Governor Greg Abbott outlined a slow reopening of one of the world's largest economies amid the coronavirus pandemic. Restaurants in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alaska's biggest city began opening their doors to dine-in customers, with new rules such as temperature checks at the door and logging of customer information for possible contact tracing. Construction workers are being allowed back on the job in Vermont and other states. Ohio Gov. Mike DeWine's first steps toward reopening will require masks for workers and shoppers. No masks, no work, no service, no exception, DeWine said. Here's a look at what's happening in the individual states and their shutdown orders. In Texas, Abbott's plan allows restaurants, retailers, movie theaters and malls to let in customers up to 25% of capacity as long as they follow social distancing guidelines. Abbott also said he will let his month-long stay-at-home order expire on Thursday. Bars, barbershops, hair salons and gyms remain closed. In Alaska, Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy on Friday began allowing the limited reopening of restaurants, stores, hair and nail salons and other businesses. It wasn't until Monday that the state's main population center, Anchorage, allowed those businesses to open. The strict restaurant rules require reservations and only family members to share tables. In Colorado, Democratic Governor Jared Polis' stay-at-home order expired Monday. A safer-at-home plan encourages continued telecommuting and allows non-essential retailers to offer drive-up and home delivery. On May 4th, non-essential business offices can reopen with half the usual staff to allow for social distancing. In Georgia, restaurants resumed dine-in service and movie theaters were allowed to reopen Monday under Republican Governor Brian Kemp's controversial reopening order. Gyms, hair and nail salons, bowling alleys and tattoo parlors opened Friday with restrictions. In Ohio, the much-anticipated return to normalcy in Ohio will happen slowly, with the reopening of many healthcare offices on Friday. Retail stores will need to wait 2 weeks before they can open, the governor said Monday. He also imposed a strict mask requirement. In Louisiana, Governor John Bel Edwards announced Monday he is extending Louisiana's stay-at-home order through May 15, saying some regions of the state haven't shown enough progress to lessen widespread restrictions on businesses and public gatherings. But if the state's rate of infections continues to decrease, the Democratic governor said he expects he will begin to loosen constraints on May 16, with churches and more retailers allowed to open statewide at that time, including hair and nail salons and some restaurant dine-in services. In Rhode Island, Governor Gina Raimondo said Monday her goal is still to lift the state's stay-at-home order on May 8 and the next day start a slow and methodical and careful economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. In Florida, Republican Gov. Ron DeSantis has asked his state coronavirus task force for recommendations for the first phase of reopening. He says the state should look at risk factors as it starts to reopen for business, and not just what's essential. Over the past couple of weeks, many municipalities have reopened beaches and parks to allow recreation under social distancing rules, a key exemption to a state safer-at-home order running through Thursday. In Montana, churches resumed Sunday services and retailers closed for a month cautiously reopened Monday with social distancing and disinfecting guidelines under a plan announced earlier by Democratic Governor Steve Bullock. Schools have the option to return to in-classroom instruction May 7, but several districts decided to end the academic year with remote instruction. Oklahoma, Republican Governor Kevin Stitt allowed non-elective surgeries to resume and hair and nail salons, barbershops, spas and pet groomers to reopen last Friday, by appointment only and if they adhere to social distancing and strict sanitation. Restaurant dining rooms, movie theaters, gyms and places of worship can open starting this coming Friday as long as businesses follow social distancing and sanitation protocols. South Carolina, Republican Governor Henry McMaster has begun to gradually allow more businesses to reopen. On Tuesday, non-essential businesses such as flea markets, department stores and boutiques could reopen and local governments were allowed to remove barricades to beaches. McMaster said the timing for additional steps depends on reports from state health officials. Tennessee, many restaurants were allowed dine-in service again Monday as part of Republican Governor Bill Lee's directive to begin reopening the economy. The plan comes just a day after the state reported its biggest one-day jump in confirmed coronavirus cases. One restaurant was checking the temperature of customers at the door. Utah restaurants could begin reopening to dine-in customers Friday in parts of Utah, with social distancing measures in place. Republican Governor Gary Herbert has already allowed elective surgeries to resume and reopen state parks to all residents in one of the few states with a voluntary statewide shelter-in-place order. Vermont Republican Governor Phil Scott has taken steps toward loosening restrictions on non-essential businesses. Still, many of the altered provisions remain strict. including 5 construction workers per job site on the condition that they stay 6 feet apart. Alabama Republican Governor Kay Ivey has said she is eager to reopen but urged people to continue following the order. The order, in place through April, disallows dine-in restaurant service and closes non-essential businesses such as salons and entertainment venues. Arizona Republican Governor Doug Ducey will allow hospitals to resume elective surgeries Friday, but is waiting for more data on the virus before he decides whether to extend his current stay-at-home order when it expires Thursday. Arkansas Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson's ban on elective surgeries was eased starting Monday. Hutchinson has said he hopes to begin lifting some other restrictions May 4. Arkansas does not have a broad stay-at-home order, but has imposed other rules. Hawaii Democratic Governor David Ige's stay-home order is in effect until Wednesday and could be extended, but Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell has extended the stay-at-home order for the state's largest city through May 31. Caldwell announced some initial steps to ease rules, starting with allowing people to walk and jog in city parks beginning Saturday, April 25. Idaho Republican Governor Brad Little's stay-home order restricting non-essential businesses expires Thursday. Last week he allowed more businesses to reopen if they could offer curbside service and ensure social distancing. Indiana Republican Governor Eric Holcomb lifted elective medical procedures beginning Monday, and the statewide stay-at-home order is in effect until Friday. Holcomb has said he may announce steps relaxing restrictions on some businesses, and major changes will be made in collaboration with neighboring states. Kansas Democratic Governor Laura Kelly supports a phased economic reopening following widespread testing and contact testing. She's under increasing pressure from the Republican-controlled legislature to outline such a plan and the Kansas Chamber of Commerce to start reopening the economy. Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Beshear has announced plans to ramp up coronavirus testing with new sites in Louisville and Lexington, the state's 2 largest cities, along with Owensboro and Bowling Green. The Democratic governor also announced an initial phase of resuming hospital services such as diagnostic and radiology procedures. Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer has said she will extend the state's stay-at-home order when it expires Thursday, but also hopes to relax some restrictions to start reopening some sectors of the economy. Some has hinted that the elderly and people with chronic lung problems may face restrictions longer than others. Mississippi Republican Governor Tate Reeves favors gradual reopening, but has not set a timeline. He has allowed some non-essential businesses like florists and clothing stores to start delivery or curbside pickup. The statewide stay-at-home order has ended, replaced with an order for just medically vulnerable people to stay home. Missouri Republican Gov. Mike Parson said Monday all Missouri businesses and social events will be allowed to reopen next week as long as residents and business owners continue to practice proper social distancing requirements. He said as of next Monday, residents will be able to return to all businesses, such as restaurants, manufacturing plants, gyms and hair salons, along with churches, sporting events and social gatherings. Parson said local governments can impose stricter limitations if their officials believe it is necessary. Kansas City's stay-at-home order is scheduled to continue through May 15. St. Louis, which has had a majority of the state's cases, has not yet said when it will lift its order. New Hampshire Republican Governor Chris Sununu has appointed a bipartisan group of lawmakers, business leaders and state officials to examine how the state can begin to reopen its economy. The state's stay-at-home order expires May 4, but Sununu said there likely will be further extensions. North Carolina Democratic Governor Roy Cooper has extended a statewide stay-at-home order until May 8 and closed schools for the rest of the semester. He has released details on testing, contract tracing and case rate goals that must be met before easing business and movement restrictions. His 3-phase proposal could not be fully achieved until mid-June at the earliest. Oregon Democratic Governor Kate Brown has circulated Oregon's own version of a 3-phase plan to lift restrictions amid the coronavirus pandemic, including allowing childcare facilities to reopen in Phase 1 and possibly restaurants. But Oregon's plan contains no time frame for reopening certain areas of the economy, and Brown has listed no specific end date for her social distancing directives. Pennsylvania Democratic Governor Tom Wolf has shut schools for the academic year and shuttered tens of thousands of businesses. But he is allowing construction statewide to resume on Friday, and a week later plans to lift his stay-at-home order and ease other restrictions in the least impacted parts of the state. Wolf says the shutdown can be loosened once the number of new cases falls below 1 new infection for every 2,000 people over a 2-week period. Washington Democratic Governor Jay Inslee has said easing the stay-at-home order in effect through May 4 will be gradual with decisions based on markers including adequate testing and the pace of new cases. But there are mounting calls for easing restrictions in the state that had the first major deadly outbreak, including a sheriff who says he won't enforce the stay-home order because it violates constitutional rights.